Hello and welcome to Slice of Pie, a weekly show now because this is the kind of content that I may actually be able to get time to record. I worked 52 hours in retail during the busiest week of the year and I don't have as much time as I normally do. I haven't had time to skate, I haven't had time to play video games, and I haven't really had time to record. But I do actually need to explain something that's going on the channel because our Let's Plays have stopped coming out, and that's because unfortunately my recording setup for Let's Plays isn't working at the moment. So I have two computers in my setup. I have the Razer Blade Pro connected to an eGPU right here next to this, and this is like my main kind of like writing computer. I play games on it, and I even develop my video game on it right now because it's able to do that. But when it comes to recording video, it actually has an issue unless I record to its NVMe SSD built into it. And the problem with that is the NVMe is small, and I don't really want to constantly read and write to it. So I tried putting it on its actual spinning drive, and that didn't work. It records so slowly that it actually creates a visible stutter in the recordings. So then I have my main computer over there, which used to record all of my content on this channel. Unfortunately, that one is also having issues. After a certain Windows update, in reaction to the WannaCry and the Spectre meltdown and all of those malware attacks, Windows sort of like slowed down a number of processors to protect them. The processor that I was using wasn't originally on the list. It was an FX8 something. It was the top of the line FX chip without requiring a special motherboard. So it was, when I built it, it was great for content creation because lots of cores and lots of data being able to be pushed through that thing and sorted easily. It worked great for recording. Now, it doesn't. It also is having issues, and I'm actually running into a unique issue where the bandwidth on the USB devices isn't high enough for the capture card and say the camera, and that's kind of a problem. So I've been on the fence about upgrading that computer for a while now, and fortunately, you know, thanks to Black Friday, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, I've actually got some of the parts that I need. We actually have the Ryzen 7 2700X, great processor. I ended up getting it for like $250. Right now on Newegg, I think it's like $350 after Black Friday. I'm gonna just use the default cooler in that one. Cat's behind me, so she just freaked out a little bit. I ended up picking up, this is gonna be my new recording drive. This is a SanDisk Ultra 3D SSD. So this is using that 3D NAND, which is great because it has the improved write speeds, which is what I need. And this is gonna be a 500 gigabyte drive just for recording. So once the PC is done, yeah, we're not gonna have issues with recording anymore. And then this is gonna be my gaming drive. It's a 1 terabyte SanDisk SSD. This one doesn't have the quite as nice write speeds, but it has amazing read speeds. So that's why for gaming, recording, we're gonna get solid drive as the, not a solid drive, but a standard hard drive as the storage for all of the footage and the games that I'm not playing. And we're also going to do an NVMe for the OS. Which brings me to my next thing that we also got. I ended up being able to get a graphics card. Now this one is the RX Vega 64 by Sapphire. Sapphire literally just takes the default design and just recreates it. So this is as close to like a Founders Edition for an AMD card you can get. And if you've been following technology, you'll know these cards are generally hard to obtain, but they are great for production use, which is why I went with this instead of a GTX 1080, which I already have. This card has the HBM2, which is a great, it's just great for production use. Like Blender sees a little bit of performance increase, synthetic benchmarks, because that's how AMD seems to be doing things. Either way, it's pretty much a GTX 1080, but just on the AMD side. So that's what we've obtained so far. I still need my power supply case. I think my old power supply might be able to drive a new motherboard, but the dual pins at the top of the motherboard seem to be the biggest issue. So I think the next part I'm going to obtain is the motherboard so that I can pin down what power supply I'm going to get. Other than that, we're on our way to building, I would call this the second red PC, because the first one is the one that's inside that case, even though the LEDs are green now. It was originally red and black. Alright, we are going to interrupt this Black Friday special episode with probably the first thing I bought for Black Friday. Well, technically I ordered it like a week ago, but still, it's here. So as you can see with my new unboxing angle that I totally didn't just make up, we've got ourselves a R Radeon Sapphire 8 gigabytes of HBM2, a cool robot on the front, and this is in fact a Vega 64. Now, there's some key features on the back here, usual stuff. But now comes the fun part. I gotta find a knife. Aha! I have plenty. That's good unboxing knife. Okay. So, gonna just take off the little seal here. Alright. Alright, inside the box is another box. Holy cow, I can't get it off. Box is all pristine. Alright, so inside the box is another box. Total box exception going on. Alright, then we've got Sapphire. Manufacturer Sapphire Technology Limited. Germany. Oh, representatives in Germany. Hong Kong, Shanghai. Boy, we're starting to get to the sexiness. Graphics card quick start installation guide. Don't need to read this. I know how to install a graphics card. Installed in the back. And she is free. This anti-static bag is actually pretty nice. We're going to actually use this box right here. Okay, she just slides right out of the anti-static bag. Booyah. This is a heavy card. Holy cow. Oh man, I want to grab something for comparison here. Okay, so right here we have the two competitors lined up side by side. Now, I understand that the GTX 1080 isn't Nvidia's flagship anymore, but spec-wise, these two cards are more or less the same. And of course, we will eventually see a new Vega card that will compete with the RTX. Alright, so I have to give this one to Razer here. Holy cow, the core automatically detected that it was now using a Radeon graphics card, and it switched immediately. I didn't even know I had these drivers installed to the AMD Cross Connect technology, which means the card works. I just got to restart, and now it's going to activate properly, hopefully. Yeah, that's Discord. There you go. Oh. So this is an AMD card running off of a Nvidia Intel laptop. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. But all right, I hope that footage wasn't too terrible. So now we're gonna talk about the news, the gaming news that has happened throughout these last few weeks, because it's been a double week. So lift a mug and let's just jump right into it. Now I'm gonna get accused of being an AMD fanboy because I have the RX Vega back there. I'm just gonna say right now, I have a GTX 1080 as my main driver. I like both companies' offerings when it comes to graphics cards. As a game developer, it's best for me to be comfortable with multiple pieces of hardware. But RTX, oh boy. The RTX cards enable real-time ray tracing, which is their big flagship feature. They have about a minimal increase over the last architecture, which is kind of normal, but because Nvidia has been making such a big deal about real-time ray tracing, these cards are way better than the old cards. You sort of end up with a more hype than actual performance situation. The RTX cards are faster than the GTX cards. That is true. But we finally got the RTX feature, and well, a lot of people say it's somewhat underwhelming. And I can see from a developer standpoint, this is exciting, this thing is cool, but, and I'm just gonna put this but out here because I recognize the faults here. Unreal Engine, without the RTX feature, already can emulate things similar to the RTX feature. Now, real-time ray tracing is cool, it is impressive, and it will make games look better later. Because not many games have probably started with RTX in mind, which means that not a lot of games are ready to fully support RTX. Not only that, but it seems that even the 2080 card struggles with RTX when there's a lot of effects going on, which makes sense. Any new technology is going to start at its base level. So this, combined with some bad press about cards failing, has actually led to Nvidia having a slightly subpar launch for these cards, and the news only gets worse for them because although, and this is one of those things about you're getting your news from a game developer here, real-time ray tracing was interesting. It was one of those pieces of technology that was like, that is cool. I wonder if there's a compatible version for the AMD ones. And posted as soon as, let's see, where was this posted? The 21st of this month, Radeon Rays. And so why am I bringing this up? Well, Radeon Rays is real-time ray tracing on AMD cards, except it doesn't require a hardware update to use. And this is why I'm saying, like, the news just gets worse for Nvidia, because if this catches on, this is open source, it runs through OpenGL, which means the Vega card back there can use it already. It's kind of crazy, and I may actually even play around with this once the PC is done, because this is free. This is free to use. And that's sort of like one of those things that's like, Nvidia, I feel bad for you, because like, we had a comment from AMD saying, we'll support real-time ray tracing once it's a readily available feature. It became available and then they dropped. Like literally the update dropped and then they're like, oh, here's Radeon Rays. That is next level trolling right there. So for Nvidia, it hasn't been very good, and in fact, on AMD's side, again, their shipments have increased, which, it sounds like a very pro AMD thing, but when Nvidia finally kicks back, you better believe they're gonna be on here. Point is, Nvidia is having a rough time with the RTX series, and AMD's not making it any better for them. Granted, I will give them this, they still have the fastest cards on the market. Now, unfortunately, we're moving into more bad news. Now, I want to preference this one by saying I am a Fallout fan. God. So, I love Fallout. I was going to buy Fallout 76. And then I was like, you know what? Let me not pre-order, let me wait. And I am glad I did. Apparently, it is a buggy mess on PC, and it barely runs on console, which, yeah, that sounds like a Bethesda launch to me. Not only that, people are saying the game's kinda boring. So, Fallout 76 hasn't been very well received, and to make it worse on PC, the Bethesda launcher is required for use. Now, I personally have the Bethesda launcher already installed, and that is because I have used the creation engine before to test out the possibility of making mods for Bethesda games. So installing the engine, having an account, that's okay. I mean, the launcher, kind of buggy from my experience, but still, it's okay. The problem is the return policy does not match Steam. Steam has a return policy that will allow you, after a couple hours of gameplay, or after a certain amount of time, the option to return the game if you don't like it. So if you play it for an hour and say, hey, I don't like this, you can go back and return the game. Bethesda's launcher, if you want to return the game, you have to have never opened it or have a serious technical issue. The problem is what Bethesda considers a serious technical issue and what gamers consider a serious technical issue are two different things, and unfortunately, Bethesda doesn't seem to be listening. Now, they were able to change the tide of the news ever so slightly by at least talking to the people who are upset about the game. I personally am going to wait on this game until I can buy like 2 of them for like probably $20 each, so that I can get gamer guts in there, so I at least have somebody to play the game with and possibly enjoy it. I do enjoy the building system from Fallout 4, although it being as limited as it is, I do enjoy it. And so if this game is just more improvements on that, plus like minimal story, cool. Problem is, the lack of any human NPCs means that meaningful content is going to be hard to come by. That being said, Bethesda has committed to supporting this game for a long period of time, so hopefully the game gets better. And as it gets better, we'll talk about it some more. Alright, now, here, I have a good story. I actually had to dig for this one. Smash is the most pre-ordered game in Nintendo's history. That is kind of crazy, especially because when you think about it, there have been bigger games on the Switch that I would consider bigger, but this Smash Brothers has been the most popular game to come out of the Nintendo Switch before it launches, which is nuts. I personally think that Nintendo made some weird missteps, like being able to obtain the controllers this far away from the launch. The Smash Nintendo Switch doesn't have the game on it until it goes live in December. So like if you bought that Switch, you have no game with it, you have to buy another game. I thought those were confusing, but Smash is selling. It's selling its pre-orders, so that's some good news in the gaming industry, especially because after Thanksgiving I was surprised to see so much negativity. Okay, so as I was about to finish editing and upload this video, something else happened. Nintendo's Creators Program is dead officially. I was a member of the Creators Program, so I did get the email saying that it was dead. I just haven't checked my email in forever. But in its place, Nintendo is letting us do what we do. Like, so Let's Plays after this year, next year starts, are going to be 100% free game. And that's awesome. Like, I'm actually right here looking at the guidelines, which were not easy to get a hold of. But essentially, Let's Plays are okay. Reviews are okay. Using that's pretty much it. It's like, the guidelines are essentially, don't make something stupid and you'll be fine. So you can live stream, you can make Let's Plays, and you can make reviews, no problem under these guidelines. So essentially, Nintendo's now taking the same approach that a lot of video game companies, except this is in writing now, which is awesome, because as someone who does this, having this in writing is a big deal. So it's in writing now. Let's Plays are okay for Nintendo games, which means you better believe we are going to smash it up. Alright, and then finally, our final story. PlayStation. What the fuck? Seriously. I own a PlayStation 2. I love my PlayStation 2. If I reach over here, I think this is where my stack is, yeah. I have PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1 games over on this side right over here. In fact, if I reach in here, I can randomly pull out... Let's see, I just randomly pulled out Kingdom Hearts 2 and Jak and Daxter 2, or Jak 2. So, those were all PlayStation 2 games. That's not helping my point. Point is, I liked the first 2 generations of PlayStation. I am not buying a PlayStation Mini. Why? Because this is the laziest mini console I have ever seen out of a major company. I have the NES Classic. I have the Super NES Classic. I have played those stupid plug-and-play ones made by that stupid company that makes all of the Sega ones. And this reminds me of that. That's not good. PlayStation, Sony, you should be competing with Nintendo, not with plug-and-play. And that's the problem with this. So what am I talking about? Well, for one, the game selection isn't the best. Now, I understand, like, getting the rights to Spyro or Crash would be difficult, especially because they're remaking those games. But them not being there kind of cut me off from it altogether. Then, on top of that, some of the ROMs are PAL versions of the ROMs. And now, there's nothing inherently wrong with PAL versions if they're played on screens that are PAL version. Now, this screen right here that I'm using for my actual main driver, this one would actually be able to adjust. But if you were to play them in like an original TV, no, no, you would not be able to get the classic experience. Not to mention, Sony just used an open source emulator right off the internet, which you don't really want to do, especially because that means you're relying on community optimization. Now, I'm not saying open source is a bad thing. I love open source. I use Blender on the regular as compared to Maya and 3D Max. But when it comes to playing games at their best quality, why use an open source emulator? It's frustrating. This whole thing, like, when it was revealed, the fact that they weren't showing games made me not pre-order it. Then when they showed the games, it made me not want it. And then the final straw was when they were like, oh, and some of these games are the PAL version. I was like, ha! Oh, I am a retro purist. I don't want that at all. And I actually really am. In some cases, I have an original working NES as well. Like, I have a stack of video game consoles over there that are outdated because I like playing them in their original quality. And I like playing them at least their original quality. And the PlayStation Mini is not going to be anywhere close to the original quality. But that was just slice of pie. This show's gone on long enough. Holy crap, it went on for a while. A lot of depressing news, but we're going to continue working. I have some videos planned, but I don't know when I'm going to have time for them is the problem. And then, of course, when I get the chance, when I eventually get the chance, I'm going to get back to some skateboarding. Because I really do want to like include skateboarding in this show as like a here's what I did this week kind of a situation. Just because I think this show can be sort of like my jumping off point. I do this once a week. Friday is the planned date. Friday morning, so that you guys can sit back with your cup of coffee. This is probably cold right now. Yeah, that was cold. Yeah. You can sit back with your cup of coffee and just enjoy it. So thank you guys for watching. Wolfie